Welcome to the Books Between Friends podcast.
3 lifelong friends,
one shared obsession.
Books.
From epic fantasy to page-turning thrillers.
We dive into the stories we love
And the ones we just can't stop talking about.
So take a seat,
Grab a drink,
and get cozy. Welcome back, friends. Speaking of cozy, what's your cup of cozy today? So I'm drinking a glass of Cabernet because that's actually my go-to cup when I want to feel cozy.
I'm going in with the Cabernet as well, but I want to know, am I the weird one? I always put ice in my wine.
Yes. Yeah, you're weird.
I'm kind of judging a little bit, but
yeah, some people would say trashy, but
That's not the
weird
word.
and trashy.
I actually don't like.
I got a word for you.
I don't like chilling my wine. Actually, I like it out. It just tastes that much better.
depends on the wine. Like a white wine, I'm going to need that chilled.
Yeah, see, I don't drink white wine, so I don't do that.
It doesn't matter what wine it is. Any wine, I'll put ice in it.
Oof. I don't know how
the
we're
only
still
hot
friends.
drink I drink is coffee or tea. Like if it's not that, then I can't do it. The only way I can do it is like ice cold.
It's room temp though. It's not
That's
bad.
fair.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I guess you're okay.
Oh, I know I am, but
You'll get a pass.
Yes, I guess.
all that to say, Steph, what are you drinking?
Well, I'm going to break the trend. I'm not drinking wine today.
Oh,
I am drinking a Spindrift, and it is the flavor Island Punch.
what's a spindrift?
It's like a LaCroix.
Oh, that's cool. So I haven't really had time to do anything as of lately. I even had like a really intense conversation with my dissertation chair last night. But with the few moments I get here and there, I have been watching the show that has been really intense and honestly makes me appreciate my sister-in-law Christina and my sister-in-law Melanie, because they both are nurses, a little more. Have you guys heard of the show The Pit?
Yes.
I've heard of it. I have
Watching
not
that
watched
too.
it.
No way. So I'm only 4 episodes in. You know what I really like about it is that they break it down by hour. So it's like hour 1, hour 2, and you see just how much shit happens in 1 hour. And it's been really good.
Every episode is 1 hour in their day, and every episode is like so intense.
What shows are you guys watching right now?
I'm watching like the highly viral TikTok sensation right now of White Lotus season 3.
Same.
Parker Posey. Parker Posey is absolutely hilarious in it. Like she just knows that Southern roll. Like she has the accent down, and a lot of people are giving her like crap about it.
So good. It's so good.
I think that's fairly accurate.
Yes.
You know, living in Texas that's a different Southern accent than you know, wherever she's supposed to be from, but it still holds true.
It's giving me like one of the Carolinas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it
like
is,
just
actually.
the way she draws out all the vowels is so funny.
Yes.
I
Almost
love
like
it.
Mary Blanche Devereaux from, Golden Girls.
Yes.
That lilt and that drawl.
Well, I have to hear this accent now, especially since both of you know about it. Let's hear it.
Oh gosh, it's that sound on TikTok, right? Like Piper, no, tsunami, Buddhism, no.
My favorite line that she keeps saying is like, "Are they decent people?"
Just because they're rich doesn't mean they have good values.
Yes, so funny.
I've seen the first 2 seasons, but I have yet. Like I saw that it came out, and I was like, "Oh, I want to see the 3rd season," because it's been on my mind that I knew a new season was coming, but I haven't seen it yet. And now that you guys are talking about this, like I have to watch it tonight.
Yeah, you got to get on it. It's so good.
I mean, the only other show I'm watching right now is, of course, like RuPaul's Drag Race, like the current season that's happening right now.
Which I need to get on.
Yes.
You told me where to start, and I plan to.
You do, and you got a ways to go. So, because we're on season 17.
Yeah. See, that's what's been so daunting for me.
Let's get into it, y'all. We're so excited to dive into part 10 of Onyx Storm, where we will discuss chapters 55 through 60. If you didn't catch our first 9 episodes of Onyx Storm, go listen to it now, then come back and join us for this episode.
All right, you guys. So once again, spoiler warning, if you're listening to this episode, we're assuming that you've read all the way through chapter 60 of Onyx Storm. So there are going to be spoilers throughout this episode. But before diving into the next 6 chapters, let's catch up to where we're at so far in Onyx Storm. We now know that Violet is a dreamwalker, and she seems to be able to meddle in the dreams that she can walk into. Now that she's conscious of her second signet, what more can she do with this power? But just as they're learning about Violet's second signet, they get a warning that Tyrrendor is under attack. Dozens of wyvern have breached the border and are flying towards Orisha. While they strategize and prepare for the attack, they realize that both of Xaden's commanders are too far away to make it back to Orisha in time to defend it, which seems suspiciously convenient for the Venin. And as Violet was making her way to her post to protect the city walls, she ran into Eric, who said something strange to her. He told her, "You have to protect Dune's temple. It's how you save Tyrrendor." What did he mean by that? And during the battle, Tyrion got injured by a wing spur that got lodged in his leg. So Violet and Tyrion are grounded, and they happen to end up in front of Dune's temple, where Anjarna is protecting the temple, just like Eric said too. They encountered Theophany and 2 other Venin in front of the temple. After noticing the faded tattoo of Dune on her forehead, the priestess of the temple called her a heretic and said that she wasn't welcome inside. Theophany used to be a priestess of Dune as well, and Darna tried to burn Theophany with her fire, but it didn't do anything to her. And just as Theophany was about to attack, she suddenly noticed something in the sky that terrified her and caused her and the other Venin that were with her to run away. It was Leothin, one of the Irids that they met on the islands, and he fired the wards in Orisha, meaning Tyrrendor is now safe. He told Andarna that they're from the same den, and he came to offer her to take her back with him so that she could learn their ways, but only her. After protesting that she was bonded with Violet, Leothin pointed out to her that she bonded Violet after Terran had already done so, and she could only do that because she is Irid, and she could also break the bond if she wanted to. And Darna decided to break her bond with Violet and left with Leothin. After mourning in Darna's loss for a few days, Mira came to get Violet out of bed. Brennan and Mira started arguing about Mira visiting their estranged grandmother, Niara, while Violet was bathing. And Violet overheard Mira tell Brennan that she was partially dedicated to Dune when she was a baby, but not fully, because the priestess said that she still had paths to choose from, and that the heart that beats for you or within you would do the wrong thing for the right reason. Reach for unspeakable power and turn dark. Mira thought this meant that Violet could turn Venin, but Xaden revealed that it was actually him who had already turned, and Mira left furious that Violet and Brennan had been keeping the secret about Xaden from her. But Xaden read her intentions before she left and could tell that she didn't plan to tell anybody about it. Now let's dive into the next 6 chapters.
Y'all, so when I read this section, I was sitting in my parents' living room. We had just finished celebrating my dad, and as soon as everybody got distracted, I went off to go read this because I was like, I need to read. And I screamed, and my mom got really scared. She was like, what happened? I was like, couldn't explain to her what was happening because I was completely ignoring her, and I just needed to keep reading to see if what happened actually happened. Why is Rebecca Yarros going after the characters that we freaking love? First Andarna, and now this. I know I mentioned this in our last episode, but I have this sinking feeling that a huge bomb is about to drop on us. And I feel like these chapters just confirm that. So let's get into our discussion.
Yeah. I was thinking, I was like, what set the tone of that feeling? Of something bad is about to happen? Is when they get back from the Isle Kingdoms and there's no retribution that they receive.
Oh, yeah,
right.
We said that.
They just flew straight to Biscayas with no venom.
Even when they do get to Biscayas, they're completely under the impression that they're all going to be court-martialed, right?
Right.
And even though they explain that away, like Eric says, now that my father knows where I am, he's just so overjoyed that I'm alive that, he's completely pardoned me. And,
Right.
that kind of,
Yeah.
we realized that kind of extends out to like who he was traveling with as well. Like, that sets the tone for this whole feeling, because there's really been no bigger shoe that's dropped until like we start getting to this section. So I was just thinking, I was like, yeah, that's really what set the tone here, because I've been feeling the exact same way.
Which, I mean, speaking of Eric and his father, I'm so freaking over Halden. Honestly, I'm absolutely over this dude. He had already warned Xaden, like, if you start letting civilians in, then, you're going to find yourself at war with Navarre. And I'm like, really? This is how you want to spend your resources. This is how you want to spend your time. This is how you want to go about your day, is challenging Terrandor to war when you have this whole war of venom happening and you should be saving your soldiers' strength and stuff. Like, why are you going after Terrandor? I get your freaking ego is at play here, and I get that you're such a brat that you think that you're like, oh, well, I said it, now I have to follow through with it. Like, dude, get off your fucking high horse and go spend time on the real problem here, which is the freaking venom.
Well, I say let him. I'm so over Halden too, and I brought up the entry at the top of chapter 55. It says, as our largest province, Terrandor provides the most conscripts for our forces. However, the strength of Navarre isn't only found in the Tyrish soldiers, but also the province's most valuable resource, Palladium. Losing it would mean doom for Navarre. And that's what they use to create those alloyed daggers that can defeat the venom. So I'm just like, you know what? If Halden wants to bring down Navarre by cutting off their most important province, fine, let him. I'm over it.
I'm over him. I'm so over him. And I love that Xaden did that, though. I love that he cut off like all the shipments to that. 'Cause he's like, you know what? Fuck you. That's exactly what he said when he did that.
He cut them off.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on it, Ethan?
Yeah.
No, I just like
Ditto.
yeah, I agree 100%. No, I have to tell you, like, this section, I mean, we're going to get into some bigger parts in this section, but it didn't really grab me until those parts. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, we're seeing Halden again. Ugh. He's still a jerk, right? And that's also a theme that we've come to multiple times across the series, is like these characters get to this position and they're like, well, what did you think was going to happen here? Like, you're going up against Xaden right now, and you're trying to compare your manhood. Like, literally, that's all this is.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't. Like, you're going to lose that. Violet has told us many times how much you would lose that battle. So, like, what are you doing here? It makes no sense.
Also, if I want to put my conspiracy hat on, because we all know what my theory throughout this whole series has been, is that that this venom network goes up to Tari. Like, this would be a perfect way to distract the most powerful province with like a skirmish here on the Navarian border and distract him from a potential venom attack.
So poor Violet has been struggling with her rune class again. I mean, she wasn't that great to begin with when she was using Darna's magic, but she's having a hard time with Terran's magic because it's so powerful. And so I love that Quinn, because we really don't hear too much about Quinn, but, you know, she comes in and just kind of helps, and she advises Violet, like, you know what, if Terran's power is so strong, maybe you need to manhandle the power and just be more assertive with it when it comes to having to thread it into the runes, right? And so thankfully that helps, which again, I go back to runes, like, being such an important piece, because the runes temper the magic. So kind of like what Arids do, where they kind of change the magic and kind of bend it, right? Runes do that. And so I'm like, how is it going to come into play? Because clearly they're pushing hard on making sure that everybody learns how to do that. And so I'm just waiting until it finally comes into play, where I'm like, yes, see, I told you, I knew it was going to be important.
Well, yeah, I mean, they were able to alter the wardstone at Biscayeth so that the flyers could stay several chapters ago. So, like, obviously there's a lot of power within runes and, like, at some point in time, that's got to come into play. And there's a reason why they're trying to prepare them in this way.
But Felix comes and takes her from the rune class and pretty much tells her like, hey, I'm not going to coddle you. We're going to practice. You need to keep practicing your power and keep growing it. And so very selfish part of me was like, okay, cool. What more can you do with your lightning? I need to see how much she can grow, because I know that she aims much better with it. And so she probably has like a better chance of just like zapping people when she needs to. And now she can split her bolt into two. But I'm like, what more is she going to be able to do? Like, that's kind of what I took away when I was reading this. I'm like, okay, Felix is pushing her and pushing her and pushing her, but it doesn't feel like she's getting all that powerful to me. That's just what I think.
She hasn't been able to split a strike like she did until that battle in the last few chapters that we talked about. And they did talk a little bit earlier in the book about how she is getting stronger and her power is becoming more controlled and she's able to strike more precisely. But I think they're trying to get her to the level where she could potentially defeat Theophany, right? Like that's the goal.
But how?
So
You have to.
right, like there was that battle brief discussion where they were figuring out how the attack on what was that place?
Suniva.
Yeah,
right.
on how it was so effective and how it happened so quickly, and they came to the conclusion that Theophany was wielding and disguising people like in the storm and allowing lightning not to hit the wyverns that were coming in. And I think that's what they're trying to achieve here. If like, of course, to beat Theophany eventually, but also to act as Theophany is acting and not manipulate, but try to mimic that idea as much as possible so they can arm themselves and truly be prepared as much as they can.
Right. And I'm just ready for that. Like, I know it takes longer than that, but I'm like, again, I'm being really hard on Violet. She's a badass. I love her. I love all the time she stepped up to like really hone her power and show just how much of a badass she is. Like, that's nothing against that. I'm just like, okay, cool. She can split a bolt. Like, let's move on to something bigger. I don't know. That's just how I read that part of the chapter.
Well, something else that I took away from this section is that Felix scolded her for her behavior during the battle because she and her squad were assigned to protect the walls of the city. And you remember Taryn was mad that he wanted to make his own decisions. So they strayed away from that post and they just started attacking Wyvern further and further out from the walls. And that's how they ended up in front of the Temple of Dune. And that interaction where Felix scolded her for leaving her post because Wyvern ended up partially breaking down part of the walls of the city because of that. It made me wonder, like, if they hadn't done that, if Taryn hadn't decided that they were going to stray out from their posts and end up in front of the temple, what would have happened to that temple? Because Theophany apparently was going towards that temple. They encountered her there in front of the temple. And what would have happened?
Well, yeah, because Eric told her to protect it too. So there was a reason why he needed her to protect it, because he maybe, like he knew what was going to happen. He knew the aftermath of what was going to happen if they didn't protect that temple. So yeah, I don't really know what would have came out of that. Like, would they have gained more priestess venom from that?
It makes me think that there's some kind of either power source or artifact that is at each temple, right? So like we can assume that there's more than one temple to Dune. So because there's one in Umbriel, right? Like they have that one. And then there's this one over here. There has to be more. So maybe there's like a special power source or artifact in each one. And that's how the Venom are gaining so much strength at the moment.
That's actually a pretty good...
You know what that makes me think? So as you were saying that, Ethan, it reminded me, so in that scene, the priestess tells Theophany that she is a heretic and she's not welcome in the temple. So if there's something that she needs in that temple, could it be something that only someone who is dedicated can access?
And maybe she's
partially dedicated.
Yeah. Maybe she's labeled as a heretic because she was originally a priestess and designed to protect what's ever at the temples, but maybe she turned and used it against its actual will. Maybe she was the first Venom. Maybe she's Venom Zero, like Patient Zero.
I don't think so. I think there's somebody above
Interesting.
her. I think there's, well, because it gets onto it later. I think there's somebody she still answers to. But I don't think that she's patient zero.
Some of what she says.
Yeah, maybe there's a balance to Dune.
What if she's among the...
And maybe that's who she answers to.
What if she's among the first six, like the first six writers?
Oh. Maybe the first six writers, like, maybe there's one writer for each god.
Oh, that's right. Okay, because there's Dune.
Because we never figured out how many gods there were.
Okay.
Like, we couldn't think of how many.
Yeah.
I was like, well, maybe they have one, like, that was like, even at the time, I was like, well, there's seven breeds of dragon. Maybe there are like seven.
No, there's only six
gods.
There's only six.
Or is there a seventh unknown one?
Or is there
Like
a seventh
there were
one?
dragons.
Okay, we'll talk more about that later.
Oh, that's exciting!
Crazy.
Exciting developments happening here.
We did not think about this before.
Yeah.
I almost
Well, like, okay, I mentioned before when we were talking about Venom that wield, and like the last time that a shadow wielder and a lightning wielder fought side by side was centuries ago when they won the Great War. And I thought maybe Theophany was that lightning wielder from centuries ago. And so like that would track with this theory too.
Well, I know she's old, that's for sure. She's definitely old and powerful.
At least several centuries.
Yeah. It almost makes this next section that we're going to talk about a little mundane after what we just discussed about the first six writers.
Everything else is mundane compared to like good predictions.
I love prediction talk. I love how it all just starts clicking whenever we're talking. So this comes up again, which I can totally see both sides of their argument, but like Xaden and Bodhi are at it again. Bodhi apparently, which honestly, I have a question about this for y'all. So Bodhi wants to drop out of Basgiath and he wants to be a soldier in the middle of this war, right? So he's telling Xaden, like, I'm dropping out. I know you can use me, go put me to patrol Drathus, like whatever. And so he challenges Xaden and was like, who's going to stop me from dropping out? And I know Xaden said something about like the Empyrean and every regulation recorded. And then of course him, right? So I was thinking about that because we keep talking about this before where I'm like, well, we keep saying they were in the middle of this quest, they're in the middle of this war, and then they have to go back to class the next morning. I get it. They still have a lot to learn. And if they can teach them as much as possible to help them with the battles that come up, of course. But like, I just don't see the importance of going to class. Like, I'm kind of with Bodhi on this one.
Like, people are dying daily.
Right. Yeah.
I think we can put a pause here. And if anything, like people you see in war movies all the time where, like they have debriefs, right? Like battle briefs at whatever camping location they're at, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not something that has to be stationary. Like you can take Basgiath with you on the road, It seems so trivial,
right,
compared to what's actually happening.
Yeah.
I'm going to go against both of you guys and be on Xaden's side. I think he's thinking like the Duke of Tyrrendor, and he has to think about Tyrrendor and what comes after Xaden is gone. He doesn't have an heir, so he has to protect the next in line. The only heir he actually has is Bodhi. So I don't really think it's about like making him graduate no matter what. I think it's about protecting Bodhi and the next Duke of Tyrrendor if Xaden dies. And I'm not even talking about him slipping further into becoming Venom. Just like he could die in this war. Even fighting against Venom, he could be killed. And what would that mean for Tyrrendor if Bodhi's also dead? He has to think about these things.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. But the whole idea of, because they still are having classes, like why?
Yeah.
Why? But I can totally see Xaden say, well, no, that's your clearest form of protection right now.
Yeah.
Like, and we need to, because I don't have an heir, we need to protect that at all costs. Yeah.
But how many books have we all read, y'all? And how many movies have we watched where you force someone into a role they don't want? They're not going to do it well. Like, I get it. I get where he's coming from. I get that he's trying to protect Tyrrendor. He's trying to protect his cousin. But the more you push someone into something you don't want, the more pushback you're going to get. And the less they're going to do when eventually they do become into that role. Like, if Bodhi does become a duke, is he really going to do a good job just because he was forced into that? Like, I just feel
No,
for
but I think
Bodhi being
he's-
pushed to.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah. I think he's the only one that Xaden trusts to do the job.
I know.
Yeah.
And so that probably adds even more to it, you know?
I know.
I mean, it all sucks. It sucks for everyone. It sucks for Xaden, it sucks for Bodhi, and they're both facing responsibility that they never asked for.
Right.
And they have that pressure of like, there's no time left to really focus on their future like they wanted to before. Anyways, so surprisingly, I was pleasantly surprised that Violet kept her signet. So the next part we get into is her having the same dream again. And so it turns out she can still dreamwalk. But this time she actually realizes that she's in Xaden's dream. So like before, she hasn't kind of come to that realization. Like she's always known she's in a dream. But this time she was very like, oh, I'm in Xaden's dream. And so like the minute that she realizes that it's his dream, she's able to kind of separate herself from him, and she can see what's happening and even converse with Xaden, because he even turns around and says, hey, you shouldn't be here. Like, I can't protect you. I can't keep you safe. And so they have this whole conversation. And that's exactly what I was telling you, Steph, in the last episode, where I said they start off the dream by replaying what's happening in the past, where right before he channels, because, you know, she sees the hand again going down to channel. But then they start having this present tense conversation about everything, because the sage starts telling them, like, you lost something that I wanted, but you will bring her. So again, we talk about this her, right? And then he tells Xaden, I'm done waiting, done playing this little game. You may have raised your wards, so it shows that they're present, but they won't save you. We have the advantage, and if you will not deliver her, then she will come herself. And then the sage tells Violet, it's simple, Dreamwalker. You come or she dies. So then he starts having this conversation with her. But I thought the sage was dead. So does that
I
mean
think
that...
it's someone else.
I was going to say, so does that mean he's still alive?
So I had two thoughts about this. I was like, so in last episode, I talked about my theory that maybe this Venom is also a Dreamwalker. And he's had centuries to hone his skill. So maybe part of this ability could also be to put these dreams into someone's head and manipulate their thoughts and like plant a seed of something that will actually happen in real life, influence their behavior in real life. So my other thought is like, it's just another Venom that's doing this to him.
He didn't describe how he killed the sage. He just said he's gone, and then that he was looking into the river or whatever that was there looking for him. So I'm like, that doesn't really talk about his final moment of how he killed him. And it doesn't talk about anything else besides, oh, you know, he's looking at the river, he's looking at the water to see if he's really gone. So it's like, is he actually...
Well, like, if he can't see him and he didn't see where he went, like, did he possess Xaden? Did he, like, latch onto his dream somehow?
Or maybe, like, it's just Xaden trying to tell himself, like, if you channeled, you better have a good reason, so he better be dead. Like, maybe it's just him trying to convince himself that he's dead when really he's not, and that's why he's in these dreams. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he's dead then.
Is it like a Voldemort situation where, like...
Actually, maybe.
You know,
yeah.
a part of him latched on.
Yeah. And
like, maybe we just, like, forget the word possession, because that, like...
Yeah, I was like, I don't know that...
means other things to people.
Yeah.
But, like, it's similar. It's, like, a part of him is still with Xaden somehow. Like, Xaden defeated him to a point, but not completely. But now he's, like...
I can
manipulating him somehow, and like
I can see the
part,
Voldemort
like
thing.
maybe through these dreams.
Yeah, I can see the Voldemort thing for sure.
Theophany has always said, you know, don't take him to the other, or don't come to the other one, come to me.
Right.
So, like, there's someone else out there.
There is, yeah.
Right.
Oh my goodness,
yeah.
y'all.
So like Theophany keeps referencing one named Berwyn.
Yeah.
Berwyn.
But like we don't know the name of the sage that Xaden fought at Biscayas.
Well, and I think later she confirms that Berwyn is not the sage. Or no, she confirms that Berwyn is not the one she answers to.
Right.
So
Right.
that comes later. So in this dream, obviously Violet realizes that she's stuck in this dream and she's trying to wake up Xaden. And the sage keeps telling Violet, like, he cannot wake up because I have him here. I have him trapped here. And so she knows that she needs to do something to wake up. And so she takes a dagger and stabs herself, which causes her to wake up. And so as they're talking about this dream, they suddenly get interrupted by a pounding on the door, and it's Garrick. So if y'all remember, Garrick and Mira are stationed at the same place. They're both fighting at the front. And so Garrick is there. He is like super badly injured. And so he tells them, we were on patrol when she found us. I wasn't strong enough or quick enough. She ripped us straight out of the sky like a pair of pigeons in a windstorm. She let me go to deliver a message. And that message was that Theophany has Mira. Like, holy shit, is she done playing with Violet now? She's just like, you know what? Let's go after the one person that we all know that Violet loves. Let's go after Mira, because I know for a fact that Violet's going to come looking for her sister. And so that also, to me, it's like, how does she know that Mira is that precious to her? Besides Xaden. Obviously, everybody knows that Violet, loves Xaden. But Mira is her other person that she holds in the highest regard. How did Theophany know that?
Brennan.
Well, like she seems to know everything about her. She seems to always know where she is. She seems to know exactly what she wants. She keeps taunting Violet that I will give you what you want. And she even named it knowledge and control. And so it's not a surprise that she knows this about Mira too. And then this made me really double down on my theory that somehow the sage is able to create these dreams in Xaden's head and predict a future that will actually manifest in real life. Because in these dreams, they keep talking that they're outside of Drathis. And now Garrick is here and is sending them this message from Theophany that they need to come to Drathis, and she has Mira.
Well, so
this future that the sage was predicting through the dreams with Xaden is about to start. This is it.
So also thinking along those lines, I'm thinking like this is the only way they can get to them, right? Obviously they have been getting to them in other ways, but this is the one sure way that they know to get their attention is by warning them and telling them what's coming through these dreams. And so they have known about Violet's ability then for a while now when nobody else has known. So how did they know about her ability if they know that they can reach her through the dreams? Because I mean, Brennan
how did the Venom?
Yeah. Like at this point, I think this is how they've been, obviously we've been talking about a lot about the dreams and what messages have been sent to them through these dreams. And so they know that this is a way they can get to them without having to actually hunt them down and like talk to them. They're like, no, we can just reach them through their dreams and warn them and tell them we're coming. And so, or taunt them or whatever, and so that means that they would know about Violet's second signet about being a dreamwalker, but like who else would know that information? Nobody else knows that information. I mean, Violet barely found that out herself. The only other person that would know that information is Xaden.
So, right, which makes this could be the possibility that if Theophany is the dreamwalker, right? Like, because I'm going under that fact that magic, it's been said that in multiple times in this book, especially this section, that magic requires a balance. So that led us to assume in last episode that some Venom has the signet of dreamwalking. And if Theophany is doing that, maybe it's not Brennan that's telling her all of the stuff. Maybe she's finding it out through dreamwalking. And that's how she's been able to know every single thing and every single detail.
That would make sense. That would make a lot more sense. Although I still think Brennan's not great. Like, I don't think he's a good person.
Same.
But
I'm not giving up on that theory.
I think that you're right. I think that is how she's getting all of her information.
Well, like the sage never directly addresses Violet in these dreams until this moment where she was able to recognize, I'm in Xaden's dream. I'm dreamwalking right now. And then she separates from participating in this dream as Xaden. She becomes herself in this dream. And then the sage addresses her directly.
That's true.
So like we don't know that they know she's been in these dreams the whole time.
That's true. The whole conversation of them talking about the present doesn't happen until she acknowledges that she's in a dream. because when she doesn't acknowledge it, that whole dream, that whole nightmare just replays of when Xaden channeled the first time.
Well, see, I still don't think that this is like a repeat of his memory of channeling for the first time, because they're in Drathis in these dreams.
They're in Drathis, yeah.
And like he has even said in real life that like he always feels the pull or the temptation of like, I could win all of this by just channeling the whole earth to its core. He told Violet, I know I could do this. Like that would be the answer to keeping you safe, to winning this war. Like I can just channel every ounce of power and end this right now. So in these dreams, he even says, this is the price to pay to keep her safe, is channeling. And then he goes to try to channel because he knows that he has access to that.
Theophany has Mira, y'all. Like what? So everyone is in a panic trying to figure out how to save Mira, obviously knowing that this is a trap laid out for Violet. And so Brennan, Xaden, and Violet are trying to strategize on what to do. And of course, there are others there too as well. So they don't want to send any cadets into battle, but obviously Xaden argues that they're going regardless. The problem is that they don't have enough riders to retrieve Mira, defend Drathis, and protect the pass. Because remember, there's a lot of civilians crossing the pass right now to go to Tirandor for safety. So Brennan challenges that there's just no way to achieve all three objectives. Like they have to pick one, maybe two, because at this point, like there's just not enough riders to cover all three. And so there's a lot of arguing back and forth. The riders are there. The cadets are all in formation. They're all there. There's a lot of argument going back and forth. And honestly, I was kind of upset with freaking Trissa, because I know that Xaden mentions that he reached out to Panchek already requesting like more reinforcements, but Trissa says like Melgren won't send them, that he already proclaimed the battle a defeat and that he's never wrong. And so Violet, of course, responds with, this determines our future. Melgren's only seeing the outcome of one path, which couldn't have had 3 rebellion relics. And she gets like really snappy with Violet and tells her cadets belong in formation, not battle planning. Like, bitch, shut the fuck up. Like, you know exactly why Violet is there strategizing. 1, this is her sister. 2, she's the most powerful weapon in that room. Like, shut up. You know, like that really upset me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it also foreshadows the idea that she's going to become this leader, whether she wants to or not. Right. I think that was another jab at that idea. I think, like, not a sexy prediction, but I think that eventually Rhee is going to realize, like, oh, I'm not the leader here anymore. It's Violet. And I think she's going to, like, step down and Violet's going to take her place.
Interesting.
Or something. Or maybe, like, Violet will be given a whole new squad or something like that. Like, and she'll be the leader there. But she's going to be given this leadership opportunity. And I think it's going to maybe butt heads with Rhea a little bit, because they've never really fought too much in the past as friends do. And I think there's going to be something there eventually.
Interesting. I haven't really put a lot of thought into Rhiannon, to be honest with you. Just that she's there.
She's just always there as their like leader, but then Violet and Taryn kind of do their own thing.
Right.
Like even in this last battle that we talked about last episode, they left their posts and Rhiannon had no repercussions for her over that, which she should have, because she's her wing leader. Right.
No, they're squad leader.
Or squad leader, because Dane's the wing leader. Yeah. So maybe Rhiannon already knows that. Like, she's no match against Violet.
Yeah.
But, you know, she's never articulated that specifically.
And then, kind of to your point, Ethan, I know that Brennan forces Violet to pick an objective. You know, he goes, pick one, and of course Violet says she can't, right? Because Violet is violent. She wants to save everyone. And so to that point, Brennan says, Theophany knows you'll try to save everyone like you did in Ressen, or at June's temple, or at Biscaeth before Mom. That's why we will fail. Because you will choose everyone over yourself, and Xaden will choose you over everyone. And so he tells her the only way that we're walking out of this trap is if you don't fall for it. One objective, one path. And so Violet is forced to make a decision here. And so her decision is to kill Theophany, which Brendan's like, whoa, didn't even think about that. But yeah, that works. And he says, above all else, we need you to understand that you cannot save everyone and you cannot stray from your orders. And so that kind of goes along with what Felix was saying, like, you cannot stray from your orders, you know, like none of the practice that we've done matters if you can't follow orders.
Exactly. And this goes against everything that Violet has always like aligned herself with. She hesitated to even kill back and forth wing, even though she's in a war college.
Yeah.
And Brennan's right. She always chooses everybody else. She always wants to save everybody else. That's kind of a weakness of hers.
Mm-hmm.
If Theophany knows that, she's going to give her this impossible challenge where she knows that by nature, she's going to try to save everybody, even when she can't.
Right.
So, but I'm proud of her for deciding like, okay, I'm going to choose one objective. And it's not even one of the three that you laid out. My objective is to kill Theophany.
Which makes sense, right? Kill the biggest threat.
Yeah. She's the one that orchestrated this whole thing.
Yeah.
So you kill Theophany. Hopefully this whole mess is in the past. We'll see.
And with that too, like once they finally figure out their plan, once they finally figure out what they're going to do, they fly into Dreyfus. And, you know, of course she's feeling guilty because that's who Violet is, right? But I love that Taryn is always her ground, like he grounds her, right? And he tells her, you're our lightning wielder, and while your life may not matter more than other writers, your signet does. You are the weapon and will have to learn to accept the sacrifice of others in your name if you want to win this war. So going back to what everyone has been saying, like you need to accept, one, you're a leader, and two, you're a powerful weapon. Like you need to own this or we're going to lose this war.
Yeah.
It's so heavy. That's a crushing responsibility.
It really is.
Again, that she doesn't want, you know, like all these kids, really, they're still in their early 20s, are faced with these heavy responsibilities that just have such big implications.
I know. I wouldn't want any of that shit on me, but yeah, like that's a lot to deal with. So as she's flying into the field where she's supposed to meet Theophany, she spots Eric and his dragon flying overhead when all first years were told to stay put. But they were flying away from the conflict, not towards it. So I'm just like, what was he doing there? And what the hell, right? Like you were told to stay put and you didn't. So they finally get to the field where they see that the wyvern are holding Mir's dragon captive. And of course, Theophany standing in front of them where she's holding one blade to her throat and another against Mir's ribs. And so, of course, she notices Mira is injured, so she probably beat the shit out of her, right? But she also notices that the field isn't drained yet, so she knows that she can't stay on the ground for too long or, you know, it's endgame there. So she tells Theophany, hey, I'm here, just like you said. But then Theophany was like, well, you're missing someone. Not only are you missing Indarna, but, you know, you didn't bring the brother that I wanted. And so Violet obviously retorts and says, you didn't mention which brother, because Xaden is there, Brennan is there, and Bodhi is there as well. But Violet assures her, like, hey, Jack is on the way. And so Theophany tells Violet, I won't make the mistakes with you that Berwin made with Jack. He spills his sage's secrets too easily. And I thought about that. I was like, what do you mean he spills his sage's secrets too easily? Who has he been spilling the secrets to? It hasn't been
Jack, right? That's what she's implying.
But she's talking about Jack spilling secrets. So I thought, who is Jack spilling secrets to? Because it hasn't been to Violet.
Oh, I was thinking that she meant Berwin was spilling secrets to Jack.
Jack.
No, he says right here, he spills his sage's secrets too easily. Is he talking about Jack spilling the secrets?
I was thinking that she was talking about Berwin. Like Berwin spills his own
himself.
Secrets too easily.
Oh, okay. I thought it was...
That's how I read it too, Ethan.
But you know what this makes me think? Like, it makes me think of the parallel between like Harry Potter and Neville Longbottom. Like there was that prophecy that it could have been Neville Longbottom's story all along rather than Harry Potter's because they didn't know who the prophecy was made about. What if Jack Barlow, like what if it's the same thing between Jack Barlow and Violet? Because that would explain why Jack hated her immediately, like from the get-go. Right? Like it always seemed really like, why does he hate me? Like we haven't interacted, period.
for no reason.
Maybe that's why. Like maybe the sage picked Jack and Theophany has picked Violet over the same prophecy.
And so then when Jack found out it wasn't about him, that's when he got jealous.
Or maybe he knew that Theophany had already picked Violet as her person to carry out this prophecy, and he was doing everything he could to try to offer from the get-go.
Either way, there are secrets being spilled, and I'm like, who are they? Who are they spilling these secrets?
What secrets?
Yeah, what secrets? Who knows?
Yeah.
And why is Theophany really upset about this? Because clearly she is, right? And
that's why she asked for him.
Yeah, she asked for him. So anyway, Violet reassures her again, that he's there, and so Theophany tells Violet, "Hey, time's up." But then that's when Garrick shows up after he distance wields, and he gets her with Jack. And so as soon as Theophany sees Jack, she's satisfied, and then she tells Violet, "Just one little matter of business to attend to, and then we will begin." And so when Violet tells Theophany, "Both Jack and I are here, our end of the deal is fulfilled, so let Mira and her dragon go," Theophany tells Violet, "That wasn't the deal. I said we'd let Drathus stand, not that your sister would live. First thing to learn about us is that we're careful with our words. And the second, we also lie." And then she slits Mira's throat. This is where I fucking lost my shit here, y'all. I screamed so loud that my mom didn't know what to do, because I was like, not fucking Mira. You cannot just slit her throat. What are you doing to me?
As soon as I read that part, I was grabbing at my throat. I hate reading about it. I hate seeing it on TV. It makes me want to get no shirts like this.
Yeah, my stomach dropped too, but as soon as we found out that Theophany had her, I was like, Mira's a goner.
Yeah.
That's the end for Mira.
This is the shoe that's about to drop. This is it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt.
As soon as I saw that wasn't the deal, I was like, fuck, she's right. She never said anything about Mira living. She never said anything about that. I was like, shit. Nope. No,
she just wanted her there.
Yeah, of course. And again,
that was the way to get her.
Mira was the way to get her out.
Everybody told her that it's a trap, and that she still went because, of course, it's her sister.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all, I couldn't. I still haven't recovered from Andarna leaving, and then you're gonna kill Mira. Are you kidding me?
It's too much.
No.
Yeah. Also paints another target on Brennan's back, at least in my mind, because Violet has a lot of close relationships. She values her relationship with Rhiannon. Mm-hmm. She values her relationship with Xaden, obviously, with Mira. She values her relationship. And it could have as easily been Brennan that was taken, right? Instead of Mira. Yeah. So why not take him? Because he knew it wouldn't have the same effect as if Mira was taken.
Well, yeah, because he's been dead.
Yeah.
This whole time, so she doesn't have as strong of a connection with him as she does with her.
And do we think it's sus at all that he didn't encourage her to kind of write Mira off? And I know that she and Violet and Taryn had this conversation on their way there. Do you think I should have accepted Mira's death? And Taryn says, well, I wouldn't be flying to Drathus right now if I thought that. But do we think it's sus that Brennan didn't try to basically be a voice of reason here and say, this is a clear trap. We're going to have to just accept that Mira is gone.
Not if he wanted to keep up appearances as the
That's what I'm saying.
Brother.
That's what she's saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it sus that he didn't try to, he's supposed to be the strategizer, right?
True.
In Tyrrendor. And if we're going to assume that he should be the voice of reason, he should take family ties out of it. The pragmatic thing would have been to say, this is a trap. This is a clear trap. And there's no way out for Mira. We're going to have to accept that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, yes. Okay. I get that. But also he knows Violet. She's going to do whatever the hell she wants anyways. And she's been doing that always. He knew that, at least I think, right? That no matter what he told her, because even Xaden said, we both know you're going after Mira, and I'd rather just go with you than have to hunt you down when you tried to sneak out. She was going to do it either way, no matter what Brennan said, no matter what Xaden said, no matter what anyone said. So I think that maybe he knew not to go down that path because he knew what he was going to get from that, you know?
Possibly.
I don't know. I think
Or it could mean he's sus.
Yeah, because like the strategist thing to do would be not only to say these are your options, but also to say this is based on those options, this is my recommendation. And he didn't do that.
But he did try to do that.
Or these are all the
options, but he didn't recommend anything.
Because again, he knows Violet. He knows how headstrong she is and that she's not going to follow any of these options. Like, I'm not saying that to protect him because I still do think Brennan is sus, but in that moment itself, like, I don't think anybody saying anything was going to stop Violet from going into this obvious trap. Because obviously she knows a trap. She told Taryn the same thing. She's like, I know this is a trap. But anyway, so when I screamed and that happened, my mom was like trying to ask me like, what's happening? What's happening? I couldn't tell her because I had to read. I was like, okay, you're telling me that you fucking killed Mira. Like, no, there's no way. But before we get to that, one thing I do want to touch on is that Xaden tried to send his shadows towards Theophany and they ended up going southward, like away from her. I was like, wait, like,
I think it has to do with her being a priestess. Somehow, like, being a priestess gives her this other level of power against even other powerful venom, even Undarna's flame. Yeah.
I thought maybe it had to do with the fact that now there's a shadow wielder rider that kind of like balances the fact that he's a shadow wielder, dark wielder. And so now,
but it's the balance. It doesn't.
But magic.
It doesn't tilt things off scale.
Yeah, but now like, magic knows.
Theophany is still powerful, and there's a balanced lightning wielder on the other side.
But now magic knows that maybe they're not supposed to hurt the dark wielders because he's a dark wielder.
I took it more along the lines of like I can see both of those things. I was thinking more along the lines that maybe Venom can't harm each other, like attack each other.
Well, right, that's what I meant about the shadows. Least, like,
yeah. Well, I thought you were saying that because there's another shadow wielder, that maybe his power is starting to decrease.
Weaken.
Just
that's what I thought you were saying.
No, just that the shadows now know not to hurt the dark wielders because they're on his side or they're on their side as far, as opposed to like the rider shadow wielder being on the other side.
But as a Venom, he's been fighting and killing other Venom throughout this book.
Yeah, but this is the first time another shadow wielder has manifested. So now that there's a balance, it's like, is he officially now on the dark wielder side where his shadows know not to harm the dark wielders? That's how I took that.
Gotcha.
So, I don't know.
That's interesting.
That's just what I was wondering. Because I'm like, how is it now going against if he's trying to harm her? Like, do the shadows...
Yeah, because all this time he's been able to use the shadows against.
Exactly.
So what's changed in between then? Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. I just read it as she has, like, more power than him and is able to counteract his power.
It could be that, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Because she's a priestess.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she has threefold channeling abilities, right? Like, if she was a potential writer, like, long ago, then if she became priestess... Then as she became Venom, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So back to what I was saying with Mira. Thankfully, Brennan, of course, is a mender, right? And so he tries to mend Mira and he's starting to lose hope because his power is not enough to mend Mira all the way. But she's still alive. So thankfully she didn't go from like being slit at her throat to dead in a second. Like a lot of people, it happens with a lot of people who cut their throats like that. So what I was trying to think of, what is it called? The carotid, yeah. Because once you cut the carotid,
I'm not going into medical talk.
Like once you cut the carotid, like you're dead in seconds.
Yeah, in media, like movies and books that we read, usually when people's throats are slit, they're gone instantly.
Yes,
but not the case here.
Yeah.
Can we talk about something else?
So anyway, so Brennan is mending Mira, but of course is losing hope, and
he's on the brink of burnout.
Yeah, literally about to burn out. But like out of this whole interaction, Sloane shows up and delivers this like mysterious package that Eric needed Violet to have that had the seal of Dune on there. And so of course she dismisses it, puts it in her jacket, and then like moves on to the fact that she needs to save Mira, right? And so with Sloane being there though, like it gives Violet hope. And so she asks her like, please use your signet to help my sister. What Sloane ends up doing here is that she can transfer, what's her signet, a siphon?
Siphon.
Yeah, she's a siphon.
So as a siphon, she can transfer power. And so Dane is there as well because he was chasing after Sloane to try to get her to get back to where the wards were. And so she's able to transfer power from Dane into Brennan. And so that successfully mends Mira. And so thankfully she's alive. I was like holding my breath the entire time this was happening. So I'm like, there is absolutely no way Mira can be dead. No way.
Yeah.
But she made it.
Mira.
Hopefully.
Yeah, right. I didn't think she was gonna die either. I was like, because there's too much emphasis on Mira from previous readings, especially from their dad, like only trust Mira. I was like, we haven't really had an opportunity to where that can be fulfilled yet. There's going to be even more of an instance where Violet is going to have to rely on Mira later for that to really come to fruition.
True. I'm really frustrated with Violet. Like, I understand that her main focus is on what's happening like in that moment, right? So her one objective at that moment is not Theophany anymore. It's saving Mira. And so she dismisses this whole fucking package that Sloane obviously risked her life for, obviously Eric risked his life for, and just puts it in her jacket. I'm like, bro, like, I am so over the fact that you're dismissing these like big ass hints that Eric is giving you that he knows how to save Tyrandor, and you're just dismissing it. Like, dude.
I was more mad at like Rebecca Yarros for writing it that way. I was like, "What are you doing?" I need her to open that right now. I need to know what's in that. And what's the whole scene with Sloane all of a sudden bringing it in? I was like, "Thank you for bringing it in because I really want to know what's in it. Like, I want to know what's in that package." But it was so random.
Yeah,
I read it. I was like, "What the hell is this?"
And then she just dismisses it.
I know. I was like, "What a weird way as a writer to write in a character that's needed at that specific moment."
Right.
Like with the siphon, I was like, oh, it's, you could say it's Dune or Done looking out for you, but really it's Rebecca Yarros looking out for you.
She needed her.
Right. Oh my God.
I'm so frustrated with Violet. Like, bro, like this is the second sign you've been given to listen to Eric, but of course this is not happening. Anyway, so they end up taking Mira away. Brendan takes her away, and so everybody leaves, and Dane notices that Garrick disappeared, and so that's going to be a conversation, and I wonder what's going to happen there. Like, I understand we trust Dane, but how much do we trust him to know that Garrick can wield two signets? So, because I know Dane, he's going to start questioning everything and everyone about, having more than one signet, and so anyway, so I know that's a problem for later, but now what?
Well, she tried to thank him for offering his power for Sloane to siphon, and then he said, "Don't thank me. Explain what the fuck I just saw over there."
Yeah, and so I know that's going to be a conversation, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going to come out of that conversation,
Yeah, like I think it's safe to trust Dane at this point with this information, but they were still keeping it from him,
right?
So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So now that everyone's gone, including Xaden, even though he doesn't want to leave Violet, he knows that he has a different objective than to be with her, right? Bodhi ends up staying with Violet and tells her, hey, Mira's dragon isn't waking up. And so that's a problem, because if he's dead or if he's dying, then that will mean that Mira dies. And so, of course, Violet is thinking, oh, we just saved her. We can't just lose her now again. And so he asked Taryn to leave her and to take Mira's dragon back to the protection of the wards. And so I'm just like, oh my God, how can you ask your dragon, your savior, your protector to leave you, knowing that Theophany is still there and still hunting you? And obviously wants you either channeled or dead. Well, no, it doesn't want her dead, but she wants her, obviously. How can you ask Taryn to leave? But
she needs Mira to live. That's why.
I know, but she's going to sacrifice herself and Taryn over wanting to save Mira? Because that could mean also Taryn dying if something happens to her, you know?
Just wondering, where did Theophany go at this point? Because she left at this point.
Yeah, she did.
Where is she going? Like I thought her whole thing was to get Violet. And Violet's here.
Well, I guess she knew that she was like letting Violet kind of sit in the fact that she just slit her sister's throat.
But I don't know. I'm just like, what are we doing here? Isn't the whole thing to get Violet? And she's here now.
True.
I was thinking that the whole time. Like, she's just letting this play out and Violet's right there. Completely, like, not even paying attention to her surroundings, only focusing on Mira and Faith and saving.
She could have easily done something there, yeah.
Easily, yeah.
So after Taryn takes off, Bodhi and Violet stay on there waiting for Theophany, and she knows she doesn't have to go any further than to just wait until Theophany comes to her. And so she gets there, and I guess her plan here was to have Bodhi counter Theophany's signet. And so I'm going to ask you guys to explain that to me, because like, I know his signet is to counter other signets. So that means like, it just kind of neutralizes that, right? Mm-hmm. But I thought that just worked on Riders and not Benin.
Well, they assumed that it did work on Benin, but we just found out in this interaction that at least it doesn't work on Theophany. And I personally think it's because she used to be a priestess.
But it turns out that Theophany actually doesn't wield lightning, that she's actually a lot more powerful than that. And this is where I was just like, shit, why didn't we pick up on this a long time ago? Like, we should have picked up on this. Did we?
I think we did. Like, we had said, because obviously the gag is that she's not a lightning wielder, she's a storm wielder. And it's not Violet's signet that she was mimicking, it was her mother's signet that she has. So yeah, but I totally think that we kind of called this, or at least a predecessor to this. We thought, we read that part where we meet Theophany for the first time, right, and they're in that geographic location where there's, where it's prone to tornadoes, and that's what they assumed it was, just the location. Right. But we're like, no, there's more to that. I think Theophany is doing it. Yep. And that makes sense. She was doing it. But we just assumed that she was a lightning wielder that has grown into strength as a storm wielder as well. Mm-hmm. We didn't necessarily think that, no, she was just a storm wielder all this time, which begs the question, is that what Violet's signet actually is? At least to my mind, that's what it brought up.
I think that
maybe that's why General Soaringale was so willing to lay down her life, because she knew that a new storm wielder had to take over, because there was already the balance of a Venin having it.
I didn't think about that at all, actually. I thought that, Violet being a lightning wielder, because, okay, so just really quick thought as you guys were talking. So they keep saying that Violet is a super strong weapon, that she's like the weapon to save everybody. But then all this time they had Violet's mom as a storm wielder. Why wasn't she the strongest weapon? Why wasn't she considered as the strongest weapon here? Why did they all say that Violet was the answer to all of this? Like, how is lightning wielding more powerful than storm wielding?
Well, Violet says at one point that eventually, like, no one could overcome the power of her mother's storms.
Right.
Because eventually the storms that she would wield would take on a life of their own. And like, even she couldn't control it. And so that's how it's more powerful. And I can't remember if it's in this book or in Iron Flame. There was like, I think it was one of those entries at the top of a chapter that says the biggest advantage that you can have in a battle is weather. And so if Theophany can control weather, she can control who has the advantage. And if you think about it, every time right before Theophany appears, there's either thunder, lightning, wind, or rain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I still ask the same question. How did everybody say that Violet's the answer to all this? Like, why is she considered the more powerful one when they had her mom all along as a strong storm wielder? Like, I don't understand. I just don't get why they kept thinking Violet was the stronger one, when clearly here it's showing that a storm wielder is way stronger. I don't know. That's just
I
a
think
thought.
that kind of
Well, that was also during a time when they were still pretending Benedict did not exist.
true. That is true.
Yeah. Now cat's out of the bag.
I still think there's something more to Violet's power that we're not seeing.
Totally.
That
Okay.
too.
So that's just kind of what I was thinking when this whole revelation came around, that she's actually a storm wielder. And I kept thinking, Violet's supposed to be the stronger one. Why is a storm wielder so bad? And anyway, so she ends up forcing Bodhi to leave because, you know, once the storm kind of starts to hit, like, he wouldn't be able to fly away, right? And so Bodhi, of course, argues with her that he needs to stay, but thankfully Bodhi's dragon grabs him and flies away. So good. They're safe. They're all safe. But Theophany, of course, starts to taunt Violet and just tells her, like, channel and we'll walk away together. And of course, Violet tries to fight her anyways with her arrows. And so one of them actually explodes because she has these like explosive arrows. And so that temporarily stops the storm from, you know, for brewing that Theophany had. And so Violet is able to use that moment to throw herself at Theophany with her dagger and actually gets her in the thigh. But of course, Theophany being her, she taunts Violet some more and she tells her, your mother knew at your age that she was no match for me. That's why she hid behind those wards. Perhaps you should have followed her example. And then Violet tells her, you're right. I can't be everywhere. I don't have to be. Then Violet thinks to herself, when push comes to shove, I'm not the best of us. She is. And so this is kind of where I want to get into next, because this is exactly how the chapter ends, by the way. Who is she? Because I do not think that she's talking about Theophany. When she says, I'm not the best of us, she is, I don't think she's talking about Theophany here. So I'm like, who is she? Who's better than Violet? Who's better than Theophany? Like, who is she talking about?
Well, okay, so while Violet and Theophany are alone on the field after Bodhi leaves, they're talking about, like, there's always a balance. And then Theophany says, well, yeah, but every century or so, we get the opportunity to tip the scales in our favor. And then also the comment she made about her mom knowing that she couldn't match her power, and that's why she hid behind the wards. I'm like, did she try to do this to Lilith? And this also made me think, is Violet not only a lightning wielder, because she's only been a rider for not even a year at this point, like she's still practicing and getting stronger at her power. Is she also a storm wielder, like Ethan said earlier? And like, is this her opportunity to tip the scales in their favor? And then the whole I'm not the best of us, or she is. I need to save this for
predictions
for our next segment.
Is that a perfect opportunity?
Yeah, let's go into it.
All right. So that is the end of our deep dive. So we're going to go into some theories and predictions, which has quickly become our favorite segment to discuss. So, Steph, why don't you start us off? You seem excited.
Okay. So, Ethan, I was also thinking about the whole Harry Potter prophecy and how it was Neville that took down Voldemort. So, I read that part, that last chapter, chapter 60, like 3 times. I was just like, who is she?
Yes.
And what I'm thinking is it Mira? This whole time, this whole prophecy thing, like, is it not just Violet? Like, Violet being a lightning wielder is a power and a signet that is so visible and tangible and in your face. Like, obviously that puts a target on her. She's an obvious target. But was she being raised not to counter Theophany, but to protect the one who's actually better than Theophany, Mira? Like someone that no one would have thought of.
But in what way?
Yeah.
In what way would she be better?
To protect her. Well, because Mira, so she's a shielder, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she was able to produce her own wards out of thin air without the need of an Irid. And if she practices that, like, what more could she do? Could she counter all of Venom?
Never thought about Mira being that key.
Exactly. This whole time, was it Mira?
Well, maybe it's a combination of both. Like, maybe they're both important, because that would also lean itself to the idea that Asher, their dad, calls out specifically, you can only trust Mira.
True. And he knew a lot,
And-
apparently.
Yeah.
And so maybe that the reason for that is because maybe like when Mira was a baby herself, they dedicated her to a completely different god, and like or something like that, right? Like maybe they're meant to be like Mira, like protecting each other.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that's a theory that I never thought of. Like that's really interesting. I like that.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Because I keep thinking, like, who is she? It's not Violet. It's not Theophany. Like, that's not who she's talking about.
Yeah.
So I just have a lot of thoughts really going into that I just kind of want to like throw out there. So I feel like just so much is happening. I honestly don't know where to start. I'm like, I don't know what to focus on. I don't know what piece of information to like run with. But I just keep thinking, like, what's in the package that Eric sent to Violet? How does he know the key to saving Tyrandor? And why only Tyrandor? Why not say it's the key to saving Navarre? Is that because he knows there's a whole network of Venin at Navarre, but not at Tyrandor? So that's been brewing in my head, wondering what's going on there. And then how is Violet's dreamwalking signet going to play out? Obviously, it's a big one. But how is that going to play into what's happening? Is that the key to changing the past, like how I've been saying? And then at this point, now that we're getting to this showdown between Theophany and Violet finally, I actually don't think she's going to turn anymore. And it's funny because I've been saying that she was since Iron Flame, right? Because of Xaden. But I think that she's just not going to turn. Like, I'm getting this throne of glass feeling. Well, maybe it's a spoiler alert, especially since like...
Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it.
Okay, well, don't read it. Don't read what I wrote. But I just feel like Violet is saving some kind of big secret that's going to end up saving the day. I feel like she's been holding on to information that she hasn't shared with anyone. And I think she knows how to defeat her, especially because I felt like she had a clarity moment right there when she was fighting Theophany. So I think she knows how to save everyone at this point, or how to defeat Theophany at least.
Interesting. Going off of your theory that, you know, why did he say specifically you can save Tyrandor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like going back to a theory that we said before, that where a temple dune might have, you know, a special artifact or like a source of power. Maybe, you know, there's something there in each province. Maybe each province has their own temple. And like, this is how you can save Tyrandor because this is where it's at. And, you know, all of the other places are falling because their temples are being desecrated. And like, that's how they're falling. That's what marks the fall, really. You know, maybe that's something to that effect. My theories, I'm still holding on to the idea that the dreamwalking ability is going to lead. Maybe that's how this book ends, right? How, you know, Violet finds herself in a new dream and she realizes it's Andarna's dream. Like, I think there's going to be some dreamwalking where she connects with Andarna somehow, or another dragon. Maybe it's Terran or something like that. The other prediction that I have, I think, because it was mentioned a couple of times in this section and maybe last section, the mention of Terran's previous writer, like that's come up a couple of times. And so I'm wondering if we're going to get some more detail there, you know, because it seems to have made its way in several times in this book specifically, I know. So I thought that was interesting.
And Terran refuses to talk about him too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's why they say Terran could potentially die if she dies, Violet, because the last time he lost a rider, like he had a hard time coming back from that.
That's true.
It seems like every time a dragon loses a rider.
No, Ethan.
Well,
Can so much happen in 6 chapters? Like, we're going to be left with a freaking cliffhanger. I already know. I mean, I already know that's true.
Obviously.
Yeah, but I'm just like, what cliffhanger are we going to be left with, right?
That ends our interesting predictions. Like those got me really intrigued. So we're at the end. Next episode, we're going to go through chapters 60 through 66. That is the final episode of Onyx Storm. So it's been a long haul. It's been great. We still want to hear your conversations. You can follow us on social media at Books Between Friends Pod. Find us there and engage with us. We want to hear your theories and conversations. Obviously, we enjoy talking about them. So we want to hear from you as well. Jen, wrap us up.
Next time on our final Onyx Storm deep dive, we battled through betrayals, unraveled shocking secrets, and held our breath through some serious dragon-fueled chaos. But it all comes down to this. In our next episode, we're diving into the final 6 chapters of Onyx Storm, where tensions explode and Rebecca Yarros proves once again that no one is safe. Will our theories hold up? Will our hearts survive? And most importantly, who is Violet talking about when she says, I'm not the best of us? She is. What happens in the battle between Theophany and Violet? Will Violet turn as Theophany keeps pushing her to do? Tune in as we break down every jaw-dropping moment and all the emotions that come with them. You definitely don't want to miss this one.
That's a wrap for Books Between Friends today. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next chapter.